Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Wrathborne Champions. That's the game I'm reviewing today. This is coming from Randover Games. It is a cooperative, fantasy-themed game where you all team up as heroes in a fantasy world, and you're trying to you're doing battle with these minions of wrath, which could take the form of a giant minotaur, or a giant, or a dragon, or just a bunch of goblins, or thieves, or what have you. And you are going to work together in trying to take down and destroy whatever it is that you happen to be fighting at that time. Now, I'm going to show you how the game is played, but let me just kind of back up just a little bit here and just say, if you've watched my videos before, you know that I'm not the biggest deck building guy. It's one of those things where I think the genre of deck building has gotten kind of glutted, and thankfully I think the industry is kind of moving away from it now a little bit, which I'm very thankful for. So when I was contacted by this company, which I've reviewed games from them before, and I was like, oh hey, we got a new fantasy co-op coming. I was like, oh yeah, I love fantasy. I'm like totally in a co-op mood lately. Tell me more. And they're like, it's a deck builder, and I was like, oh. All right, well, send it on over. I'll take a look. And, and I was really actually surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I usually, when I sit down and play a deck builder, I play it once and I'm like, okay, well, I never need to play that again. Because I've just kind of, I think, like I said, the genre is kind of stagnant and just nothing really new is happening with it. And it just kind of, gives me like kind of a taste. I mean, they're fine games. I mean, they work well. The mechanism of it is tried and true, and it processes pretty quickly, and it can be a lot of fun. But I'm not really big into the whole, like, oh, I need to get, a certain number of cards and get this synergy going and get that going and what have you. I don't have the time for that, and maybe I just don't have the mindset for it either. So, and so it just isn't a good fit for me. So for a game that is deck building, to actually like kind of grab me by the sweatshirt or whatever, and excite me, it really is something. So keep that in mind while I show you how the game is played, and we'll come back here and I'll tell you exactly why I feel like this game is a lot of fun. Alright, cool. Alright, this is Wrathborne Champions, and I've gone ahead and set up the game. Now, this isn't actually what the game technically would look like when the game is set up, but I wanted to make sure you got to see everything that this has to offer. Alright, so in the middle here, this is the creature, the thing that you have to defeat. It is a goblin horde, and it might be a little difficult to tell, but like it says goblin horde up there, and each one of these little spots on the board is a different part of that goblin horde, and they are a minion of wrath. Basically, they are trying to destroy the world or what have you. Now, depending upon what type of game you want to play, you could play like a really epically long game, or you could just play a really fast game. There are tons of these minions of wrath, and not all of them are just like a big giant horde. So you can kind of see, here's like a hill giant, and you can see all these different locations on the hill giant are different things. Here we have a hydra, pretty self-explanatory. Lots of different heads of the hydra and what have you. Here's a large group, like the fortified brigands and so forth. Oh, this one's upside down. I do apologize. Here we have a minotaur, and so each one of these different minions of wrath will pose different types of challenges for you depending upon what you're going to be fighting against. And of course, there has to be, a dragon, so I just wanted to show you the dragon. And of course, all the different parts of the dragon. And this is one of the things, and I'll talk about this a little bit more when we get to my conclusion, one of the things that I really liked about the game. Just kind of the versatility of it, and like the different challenges that each one of these different wrath minions can give you. Alright, so as you well know, it is a deck building game, and we'll get into that again in my conclusion, but so with deck building, each person is going to end up picking a class. You can see we have Ranger, Warrior, Assassin, Cleric, Berserker, and Enchanter. And technically, each one of them gets to pick a type of like weapon that they're going to use. So like if you have the Berserker, you have the Berserker cards, which I will talk about here in just a little bit, but then also here you have like the Battle Axe. But that does not necessarily mean if you play the Berserker you have to use the Battle Axe. You know, it does fit really well, and thematically it fits really well, but there's nothing preventing your Berserker from, you know, using dual daggers if you just want to use that for the power. Now, I've grouped these together in the like the connections, like the Ranger has a bow, the Warrior has the sword and shield, and so forth. You know, and I've done that just for the purposes of showing this off. But one of the also cool things is I'm going to say versatility a few times with this game, is that you can kind of mix and match and have some fun with it and just see how the different cards will work together. So I'm just going to just pretend that I'm playing the Berserker, and I'm just going to go ahead and put these off to the side. And all of these classes, like any good cooperative game, allow certain people to excel at certain things and, you know, not as good at other things. And so it helps, like, you know, if you're the Berserker, you know, you're probably going to be the person going in there and going toe-to-toe and doing lots of damage and probably risking life and limb. But if you have somebody who's playing, you know, the Cleric, you're hoping that they're going to be helping you out and healing you and what have you. And so each one of these things kind of works together to create, you know, the story and the process of trying to win the game. So here you have, so like you have the Berserker, and then you have the special power, like just like a passive ability. The default action of Punch does 2 damage instead of 1. You have default actions that when you draw your cards, you don't like any of the options that you have available to you. You have the ability to defend, you have the ability to punch, and you have the ability to bandage, basically heal. And those are all listed up here. Probably, I don't want to just pick it up and bring it a little closer for you. So you can always just choose to do one of these. You discard at least one card to do so, and it can kind of like clean up your hand a little bit if you don't like the hand, and like you're still able to do something. So and then what happens is, okay, so you have all these cards. Now there are 3 cards here that have different color. Those are like these level up cards, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit, but those technically are not included in your deck to begin with. And the same goes, there is one of those cards for the weapon as well, and so we'll just go ahead and put that aside as well. Now technically for each one of the weapons, there is like kind of a thing as well. So like the Battle Axe says, after playing a Battle Axe card, you may place 1 card from your hand to the Death Pile. The Death Pile is your damage. And add 1 damage to any targeted sector on the card. And so this is just a power that the Battle Axe has as well. So you keep both of those cards in front of you to keep that as a reminder. Now, you're going to go ahead and shuffle these cards up, just like any you know, deck building type game, and you're going to have you'll have 20 cards to do so. Now I haven't shuffled these, so just the magic of video editing will shuffle these in a matter of seconds. Ta-da! All right. So technically, each person will have, this is the Wrath token, which will denote them as being the first player. You will be the first player, and also most likely going to be targeted by a lot of the attacks that this Wrath minion is going to be doing. That's also one of those cool things about the game. It's very tactical, very strategic, so you know, you can plan ahead as a group. The cooperative people can kind of work together. Okay, well, you're going to get hit, so what are we going to do to try to prevent you from taking that damage and that sort of thing. So each person will draw 5 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, off the top of their hand, and they will look and see what they have. So in this case, I have these 3 attacks. I'll just put those over there, and then I have these 2 abilities. Now, you can, if you wish, you can combine like an attack with an ability, like one of these attacks with one of these abilities. If there's this little sword icon up there, that means it can be an armed response. You can't ever play these 2 cards together. So here's like Retaliate. For each point of damage you receive this turn, do an equal amount of damage back to the source. Discard any. So obviously discard a card. Death. If damage source is a sector, deal 2 damage to the source. So you know, so there's the special ability. Like basically, this is if you're planning ahead, you know you're going to be taking damage this turn. That's something that you're going to be dealing with. Now, when you're doing your deck building, you have obviously, you know, you have your card that you draw pile, you have your cards that are in your hand, and then you're going to have a discard pile just like anything else if you discard these cards. However, when you take damage, your hit points are your cards, and so any damage you take are placed like so, up here to like show that it's damage that's been done, and you place it up in that spot. Now, normally you would take those off the top of the deck and you place them face down like so. If you don't have any cards, but there's cards in the discard pile, you'd shuffle those up, obviously, and put those into the death pile. Now, if you heal, you get to take a card and put it back into your discard pile. So if, like, I had these 3 cards as my damage, and I took the bandage, or the cleric healed me, the bandage action, I heal 1, so you just take one of these cards and you put it in your discard pile. So then it would get shuffled back into the deck. Now, one of the cool things, and I'm going to say this a couple times probably, is that this isn't like your classic deck building game where, all right, buy one of those and get one of those and take one of those cards and get one of those cards, where you're constantly trying to like evolve your deck and get it to this like premium level. Everybody's deck is pretty much, there are some cards, obviously those higher up cards that I talked about, that get added on, but for the most part, the cards that you have are going to be the ones that you get from the get-go. And so when you see like a card that's really helpful, that you've learned, like if you really learned how to run the Berserker with the Battle Axe, and you know that there's certain synergies and combos that you want to use, when you see one of those cards in the death pile, that's when you're starting to like go, okay, I need to get that healed, I need to get that card back. And and I found myself actually surprisingly getting into that level. I normally don't get into a deck builder like that, and maybe it's because of the maybe the smaller set of cards. It appealed to me a little bit more, but I'll talk about that a little bit more in my conclusion as well. So what you do is you decide which cards you're going to play, and you play those, and then you do your damage that you're going to do. So if we're going to like do Retaliate, you're just going to wait and see what happens as far as damage goes. Let's see Retain Control. If you control the Wrath token, add 1 damage to a single targeted sector on your next weapon card played. Otherwise, you heal 2. So what we could do is we could sit there and now, actually, I'm going to take a moment, taking a step back, and I want to just talk a little bit about this minion card. So each one of these crystals represents health of the different spots. The white or clear crystals are 1 hit point. The red crystals are 5 hit points. Now you know how many hit points they have because, and this is a little bit tough to see, so I'm going to show you another one of the cards. So depending upon how tough you want it to be, like you can see, here's the Ember Dragon. You have level 1, level 2, level 3, and on the back you have level 4, level 5, level 6. So you look at, like, so if it's a level 1 Ember Dragon, you can look here and say this Dragon Wing has 6 hit points, but a level 3 would have 12. And some of them will actually alter, as far as like the abilities of the spot will alter as well. So like here, the Dragon Head, it bite, and that means it's going to attack the person who has the Wrath token. And then it's going to do 2, 3, or 4 damage depending upon the level. And it also has 3 defense. So it actually, like, as you do damage, it can withstand some of that damage. And some things, like, obviously are easier to hit. It was -1 defense and things like that. You'll see other icons like this one that says, like, this one is going to attack. You just got to think that's the person to the right of the person that has the Wrath token. So once again, you can kind of see where the damage is going to show up and where it's going to go. Now, just like quick comparison, you can see like the Flame Breath is actually going to be a cone attack, as you can see, that's going to affect more people and do a lot more damage, obviously. And like you can see, obviously the hit points increase a great deal as well with the higher level items or whatever. So so the same thing is going to apply to this Goblin Horde. If it's a level 1, which I've picked, this Goblin Shaman has 12 hit points instead of 15 or 18. The Goblin Lackeys have 3 hit points instead of 4 or 5. And the Goblin Lackeys actually don't do a lot of damage. Like this guy, actually, if you can see it, he does 0 damage at level 1 or 1 or 2. You might think, well, that's not good, that sucks. But actually, if you look, there is an aura for the Goblin Drummer in the middle. All Goblin Lackeys do +1 damage, so like he'd actually do 1 point or whatever. So you're going to pick something to do, so you're going to look at different things. So here's like Lumber Split, and this would like be any vertical, like this one, or this one. And it would do 2 damage each. This one you could pick, you see the 2, 2, 2, and here we have the 4-hand swing. And so that obviously just matches up with the grid. And so if you did this one, like the Lumber Split, with Retain Control, because he's not going berserk, if you control the Wrath token, add 3 damage to a single targeted sector on your next weapon card played this turn. And so otherwise you heal 2. Well, so let's actually, like, if we really wanted to do just like a ton of damage to one thing, let me see if I, oh man, I can't. Well, I suppose actually with this one I can target the chieftain, right? So I could play these 2 cards together, like so, and I'm going to do 2, but I add 3, so I play these 2 cards down to show that I am doing that action. I'm going to do 5 damage, and bam! I can go ahead and take 5 damage off of that that Goblin War Chief because of the fact. Now, there are some abilities that, and it's kind of cool, and I'm not going to dig around for one right now, but some abilities will allow you to actually rotate, like either a full 180 or like a 90 degree either way with this card as you play it. So you can actually change like where it targets, if you will. So like if this one was target and you have to rotate it to here, you'd be able to target these. If you did a full 180, you'd go like, and that's one of those also really kind of cool things about the game as well, that it's, you know, the versatility and the different strategy and tactics that you're going to be using as you go. So you go ahead and you do that action, and then I would be done, you know, and then the next person would go, the next person would go, the next person would go, and so on and so forth. And we all, you know, resolve what happens, and we go through that process. Now, you have to activate each of the sectors, like the different things. You make sure that aura is in place. If there's any kind of, if like maybe you stun somebody or you poisoned a spot or anything like that, you resolve those effects that are going on, and then you just go through the process. You just start going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just like you probably, you know, like as you're reading a book kind of thing. So like the Goblin Shaman says, action. Revive 1 defeated Goblin Lackey to full life. So that's one of the things about the Goblin Shaman, is that as long as he's alive, he's going to be bringing those Goblin Lackeys back to life. So, well, so if like maybe we had killed, somebody had like killed that Goblin Lackey, we go ahead and we just put him back on the board. Remember, and because he got put back on, obviously he's going first, you know, he's going to be able to act now. The Goblin War Chief, he engages me, and it's going to do 1, 2 damage per defeated Goblin Lackey. Well, thankfully, like, you know, there wasn't one, so I'd take a point of damage. And now I'd have to take a card off the top, and I'd place it like so to show that I'd taken that damage. And then the next one is Wicked Slash. It's going to target the person with the Wrath token. Does 0 damage, but the drummer is still in effect, so I take that point of damage. And you can see, and then the Wicked Slash, the person to my left takes a point of damage. The aura guy, that's all he's doing, he's just hitting the drums. You know, Wicked Slash to my right, another Wicked Slash to my left, Wicked Slash on me, that's and that's going to do 2 points of damage, because it's 1 or 2. Man, I'm just getting beat down. I gotta hope that cleric, you know, takes care of me this turn. So I go ahead and take another 2 points of damage and put those down. And then finally the Goblin Lackey goes. Now after all of that is resolved, then I would give the Wrath token to the next person to my left, and then they would unfortunately be the target on this next turn. If I was killed, the Wrath token immediately moves in midstream. So if I, like, you know, if this Goblin Lackey had killed me, I would move the Wrath token, and then people would go through the process as well, and at that time as well. And so the target would shift as it progresses. After all is said and done, you then, just like any other thing, you kind of reset everything, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to draw cards to fill up your hand, and you're going to go through the process once again of each person kind of picking what they do. Now, this isn't, you have to go in order. I know a lot of cooperative games are like, you know, well, you know, you can go whenever you like kind of thing. It's one of those things where it's like, go in any order you want, you know, discuss it, that sort of thing. That isn't the case with this game. You have to go in the exact order that you have, which, you know, adds a little bit of throws a little bit of a wrench into their work sometimes, but actually I think it's kind of a nice little added touch because of the fact that it challenges you a little bit more. Now, that is the very, very basic of the basic game. There are ways that, like, it actually does get altered up. Now, if after you've gotten used to that, there are like this giant deck of item cards that prior to the game you can pick these cards. There's like builds that you can do, that these are basically cards that you can add to your deck. And this is a little bit of, so if you're somebody that really enjoys deck building and you want a little bit more for changing up and doing different things, you can do it. And a lot of these things are like, like healing things. Like here's a poison, statue of mimicry. Next time you would take damage, place this card in your death pile instead, and you're immune to damage for the rest of the turn. So there's all kinds of things like that like will alter it up. And after you've gotten used to playing the base game, you can go ahead and add these cards into the mix. Finally, one last thing that I want to talk about really quick is the battle deck. So this is a very there's no dice in this game, obviously, and so the playing it like this has a very deterministic combat, if you will. If I'm doing 3 damage, I'm doing 3 damage. That's just how it is. However, the battle deck, what happens is as you go ahead and you process your attacks, you draw cards off the top of this, and if the on the bottom of these cards, you can kind of notice there's this little symbol there. Those symbols match up with the symbols on these battle decks. So you can say, you draw that, and you'd say Battlefield Confusion, advance the Wrath token 1 player. So if it had been either one of these, all players lose all defense if it had been that. Or if it had been the plus had been nothing. Let me find one here. It's if you weren't the person that had the Wrath token, you draw this, all of a sudden, now you got the Wrath token on you, and you're going to be the one that takes the damage. So, once again, you've put all these plans together, you know that person is going to be attacked, everybody's like, it should be safe for him, but all of a sudden you draw this card, and all of a sudden the target is you at this point. Even things where you can just take damage all of a sudden. You can take 3 damage and what have you. So, once again, after you kind of learned the base game, you throw the battle deck in there, this is awesome. I love the battle deck because of the fact that it's just got that nice reveal moment of all right, I hope Lady Luck is on my side kind of thing, and you turn one of those cards over to see what happens. But and you can play this, as I said, in so many different ways. I mean, you could play this giant epic thing where you have to defeat each and every minion. You can randomly pick just one. You can have just a giant story if you want. And ultimately, I mean, the game is just a lot of fun. It allows you to level up your players. You can level up after you defeat a minion. You're going to the next one. You can do that. But also in this deck, in the there's actually level up cards where if you get that'll allow you to draw some of these fabled cards, these fabled abilities, and allow you to then get the bigger, better cards to be put into your deck. So that is Wrathborne Champions. It's a lot of fun, and I was really surprised because if you know me, I'm not the biggest deck building guy in the world. But let me talk more about that in my conclusion. Alright, thank you for learning how to play the old Wrathborne Champions. Okay, so now I'm going to give you my big reveal or whatever. So what do I like about it? Well, I mean, I kind of mentioned it during the gameplay portion, but in case you didn't watch that, basically, I mean, yeah, this one, I like the fact that you kind of just get all your cards to begin with. I mean, there is some mix and match you can do when you pick your hero and then combine that with the weapon that you're going to be using. You can kind of have some fun with it there. Obviously, if you go to the later level, if you will, of the game where you can draft more item cards into your hand and you can kind of mess with things a little bit. That's something I really enjoyed as well. I mean, and but it never really got to that weird point where everybody was, everybody was reading up on new strategies or whatever, or hey, what if we put this card and that card together, and what if I, make sure I have 3 villages and 2 mines, and just, I've just gone beyond that. But instead, what it is, it's a very straightforward, very bloody, very, do or die type of battle situation that you have to roll through. Now, there's a couple things I forgot to mention. I do apologize as I was going through the gameplay, and I just want to touch on them really, really quick. So, obviously, the way you win is if you kill everything. I think that should be obvious, but that's how you win the game. You kill every single one of these boxes that's on this card. Now, the second thing is, and I forgot to tell you about this enemy advantage section. Basically, what that is that after all is said and done, if you can't look at the monster or the monsters or whatever it is you're fighting and see that you've actually removed crystals, removed damage from them in that given turn, you have to put an advantage token on the creature. And if you ever get 4 of these advantage tokens on the creature, then you automatically lose. The creature just wins. Now, that's in there basically so people don't, just sit there, okay, well, let's just all defend, or let's just all heal this round, and just you know, cycle through our decks a little bit and try to get the cards we really want, and then we'll just boom punch. And that's a very, very important aspect of the game, and I do apologize for not mentioning that during the gameplay portion, but and that is a nice added you know, goose, if you will, to make sure that you're out there and you're at least got a couple of your people, even if like some of you are licking your wounds and you're like near death's door. You know, it's helpful that like you get a couple people that are just willing to, you know, just they rush forward, and they're the ones like still trying to bash whatever it is you're fighting down, so you can keep the game going and don't run into that situation where you have to give it, you know, an advantage token. Now, that being said, there is a cool little aspect to it where you as the players could say, you know what, I'm gonna let's just all recharge this round. We'll take the advantage token. That'll be fine. We'll recharge this particular round, and then we'll go at it. But then you like basically you've used up. You know, like it's kind of like you use up a timeout. You know, in football, you've used it up. You can't get it back. And if you run into a situation where just bad luck, you didn't do any damage, or any of those things happen, then you might lose the game, you know. So it's kind of adds a neat little conflict to the game as well. I mean, ultimately, why do I like it? I like co-op games. I really enjoy working together with people and trying to solve a thing. It is a very difficult game. You can ramp up the difficulty very easily. I mean, it satisfies my 3 rules of co-ops. Did it beat me the first time I play? Yes. Does it still beat me after I found like that level of difficulty that I needed? Yes. It's like it's kind of a crapshoot. I know exactly what I'm going to be facing, and I gotta hope that I pick the right cards and pick the right actions and get everybody together doing the right thing at the right time. And then especially, you know, with the battle deck with these cards, you know, with the kind of randomizers or whatever. It's fun, it tells a story, and, you know, it's one of those things where you can play the entire thing. It can come down to one final turn of whether or not you pull it off kind of situation. And I enjoy that aspect. I should mention, one other thing too. If you are killed, you can be brought back if you can somehow get healed, but your game isn't over. You do have like a very like, you have like a final ability that you, when it's your turn, basically you don't get to play any cards, but you have like this, I'm like nearly dead, but this final ability that you could do, so you can still add something to the game, and hopefully eventually somebody could possibly heal you and get you back and running and rolling with it. But usually it's not a good idea to heal them unless you can like actually get them back and get them some good cards to play with, because otherwise they're just going to get killed again. But regardless, if you get knocked out, you're not out. You just kind of are on the sidelines waiting to see what happens, and you can kind of help out just a little bit type of situation. Then ultimately also I like the fact that each character, each different class has its role, it has its ability, it has its time to shine, if you will. And I think that's needed in a cooperative game, especially a cooperative game with like variable player powers and stuff like that. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, so you're the berserker and you're just swinging your axe left and right and you're bashing things down left, you know, and you're getting that glory or whatever. But, you know, if it wasn't for the soldier with their ability to help defend you and things like that, you wouldn't be able to do that. If you didn't have the cleric healing you, you wouldn't be standing up. So, you know, everybody has that moment where you, if you do win, you feel like you added a lot to the victory, and that's something that's important. Plus, I mean, the game is just cool. I mean, I just love this idea of like all the different creatures and all the different monsters and all the different spots. And I mean, I invite you to go ahead and check out the game so you can kind of read up on those and just see all the cool different abilities that they have, and the fact that they actually like level up really well with the different levels of them. The 6 different levels of the Wrath minions. I mean, just it's just a lot of fun. So. Yeah, there you go. If you have any questions about the game, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, I'm the Undead Viking telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.